President Trump pressuring Democrats to return to Washington to help millions of suffering Americans. House Democrats say a congressional physician warned it could be dangerous to return to work. But President Trump has a different theory.
The Democrats, they don't want to come back. They don't want to come back. I think they should be back here, but they don't. They're enjoying their vacation. And they shouldn't be. Look at Nancy Pelosi eating ice cream on late-night television.
So, Kennedy, it's, I think, pretty safe ground to make fun of Democrats for not wanting to come back, as a lot of people think that Congress doesn't do anything anyway. So there's that. But what about this point that the Democrats say that their doctor told them that it would not be a good idea? I mean, how do they weigh that?
They socially distance, they wear face masks, they wash their hands, they don't touch their face, and they come back and they do critical work because their work decides who lives and dies right now. And that is the unfortunate reality. It's very easy for them to stay in quarantine in, for the most part, by and large, their gilded towers, and expect people to work in nursing homes and hospitals and fire and police stations and Chipotle. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie has been very entertaining on this. He wants to get back to work. He's challenging people to get back to work. House Democrats say they don't have any legislation, so why should they hurry back to craft legislation and at least do something to make the situation better and make your constituents feel like you care about them?
Well, one of the things that they could do is Senators Portman and Durbin, in a bipartisan way, have proposed a way for the senators and the Congress to be able to vote either by proxy or from afar. And there's so much resistance to that. I mean, doesn't there seem like there's a technological solution here?
I think there is. I mean, it's pretty clear what you just laid out, Dana. That's exactly right. But, there's a lot of tradition about people showing up in person in the Congress to do the work. What we're talking about, though, is a 4.8 shrinkage in terms of GDP, gross domestic product, over the last quarter. That's terrible, and I don't think you can blame Republicans or Democrats, and I sure don't think anybody can do anything but blame the virus. Let's just be clear. And when it comes to the Congress and the president's nasty little comment about ice cream and they're enjoying their vacation, I don't understand, because Democrats, in fact, with Republicans, have passed 4 large bills, 2 of them with huge spending, intended to deal with this issue. And the Democrats worked very hard to the point that some Republicans said, oh, you're slowing it down by making these demands, and these demands aren't directly related. But the Democrats were working to get in money for hospitals, for people who are poor and hungry in this country.
Right.
I think you can, even if you are a hardliner, make a case for them. So I don't think that's a fair argument. And I think that I would agree with Kennedy on people coming back. I think that if you can get 1 or 2 staffers in there, go to work. And
Greg, they already know that they're going to have to do more going forward, and the members of Congress need to be there. I mean, they haven't had any committee meetings. They can't do any of the work. Even if they wanted to do oversight, they couldn't do that. So your thoughts?
Oh, God, this is hard because I don't want them to work, because I just don't want them to work. However, the Founding Fathers assumed, because you know that I am an expert on the Founding Fathers, that people had to be present in the Capitol to work. But there's a few things that have happened since then. There are these things called computers, and you can get on the internet, and you can do stuff from afar. I just ordered like $100 worth of records. I think these guys, and they're old and they're fat and they're unhealthy, stay home and work from home, and you can pass all this money from there. I think it's time that we change these traditions to reflect the reality that there is. And I agree with Juan. The economy is 4.8%. The argument that this is an evil capitalist society, which is often propagated on our American campuses by professors who read nothing but Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn, they claim that this is an evil, greedy society. How is it that this evil, greedy society sacrificing its economy to save the most vulnerable people? I mean, even Sweden, the model of cool socialism didn't even do that. But here, Fat Cat America is doing something so incredible It's so incredible, and we tend to forget that, and I think we need to remind ourselves of that. Maybe.
Jesse, do you think that these members of Congress need to get back to town?
I do. Do you remember during the shutdown when Nancy tried to leave the country on a jet and the president grounded the jet?
Yeah.
I think this time he should send a jet to Nancy, stock it full of ice cream, and say, in 5, we're going wheels up, Nance, and I'm going to give you a lift back to D.C. I mean, she's like the most powerful woman in the world, and she's hiding in her mansion. You can't say the president's not leading and then hide in your mansion. It's not a good look, especially when the Senate's coming back to work. She's basically acknowledging she's not an essential employee. And most of the time, congressmen aren't. But now they are. She could go back and do China. She could do infrastructure. She could do testing. She could create tons of legislation. So it would be a symbolic move to show the Congress working again. They should be on the front lines along everybody else. I just hope Nancy doesn't want to stay at home because she doesn't want to help the recovery or visually associate herself with the federal government response. But I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I'm sure you hope that. I'm sure you do.